So welcome everyone, and thank you all for joining us for today's Juneteenth celebration. It is my honor to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Khaliah Guillory. She graduated from the University of Central Florida, Nicholson School of Communication with a bachelor's degree in communications and is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
No sorors? Ah. Oh Lord, there goes the meeting.
Ms. Guillory is a national strategy consultant and VP merchant at Wells Fargo Bank and is also on the board of Wells Fargo Diversity and Inclusion Council. But having one full-time job wasn't enough for Ms. Guillory. She is also an adjunct professor in the MBA program at the University of Houston downtown. But even with two full-time jobs, Ms. Guillory felt she still had more to give. Therefore, in 2015, she founded KOG & Company, which is a people empowerment platform built to encourage the masses to operate outside of their fears and summon up the unmitigated gall to courageously pursue their purpose and passion in life. As Khaliah uses her voice for life transformation success, her most thought-provoking talks are Unleash Your Dopeness, Diversity Deposits, and Mogul in Training. As a baby of the hip-hop generation, I want to hear that Unleash Your Dopeness.
Oh, it's dope. It's dope.
Khaliah's expertise and vast experience as a leader working for Fortune 500 companies has awarded her Houston's Next Generation of Leaders Award. She was also recently elected as an officer for the advisory board of the Texas Diversity Council. As you know, the AAERG is extremely active in the Houston community, and we've seen Ms. Guillory at a couple of different events. So we speak from personal experience when we say she's a dynamic speaker. We were very excited that she accepted our invitation, and we're very happy to have her here. So please give a warm JSC welcome to Ms. Khaliah Guillory.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Orlando. And thank you, guys. You got some really good mojo energy in the room. I love it. And I know you're on your lunch break, so my commitment is to get you out of here right at 12:30. Deal? But we got to keep this energy going, all right? And one of the ways I like to do that is share the dopeness in the room with my friends on Facebook. So are you guys cool with kicking it off with a little Facebook Live to get us going?
Yes.
I don't know. You guys sure? All right, so here's what we're going to do. Anytime we want to agree with something, we're going to say word, word. All right, here we go. All right, so I just so happen to think that you guys will be down for this, so I already queued up Facebook Live, so we're ready to go. So everybody stand to your feet. And then when we go live, we're just going to make as much noise as we possibly can and let them know what NASA is up to today on Juneteenth, all right? All right, so here we go. 2, 1, look where I am. Look at that. We got people in the corner, people at the table. We got folks leaning in. What's good, NASA? Hey! It's about to go down. We are here for our Juneteenth celebration, a quick power lunch break hour, and we're about to make this thing do what it's going to do. So tell them bye. Sorry you missed it. All right, peeps, later. All right, now we got that out of the way. One of the things that I always like to do, and again, thank you guys for having me. I'm already feeling welcome and feel the warm love from you, so again, thank you for that. But one of the things I like to do is set the framework for what we're going to talk about. And I'm sure you guys already have a good idea. What do you think it's going to be? Juneteenth, a little bit, yeah. Diversity, yeah. So just to set the tone, I always want to start with a quote. And this quote actually is one that I recently saw and it grasped my attention. Change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. What resonates for you when you read it or you listened? What came up? Oh, I might want to also mention, I'm going to be asking you guys for a lot, so this will be interactive. So we're cool, we're family, right? I have a badge, so I'm honorary NASA today. And we need to also talk about this inclusion. How can I be included on this off every payday? Can we talk about that? I need your people to call the Wells Fargo people and tell them that the bank needs to shut down every payday. But seriously, what came up on this for this slide, this quote? Innovation.
Companies that are, doing like you give, for example, like Polaroid, that missed the digital, or Kodak or whatever.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. What else? What else along the table, on the sides? What else comes up for you when you read that quote? Yeah, nobody wants to get left behind, right? What else?
Optimism about the future.
Oh, sir, I'm coming all the way over here to give you a special one up top. Optimism about the future, and that's exactly what I want to talk to you guys about. You might not be able to see it well because of the lighting, but those are our little future on behind this picture, right? And a part of this talk is about what can we do to ensure that we are optimistic about the future. You actually can see it on the sides there. Ooh, look at that. What's happening when you're in a room filled with people who just have IQ off the charts? But these kids are depending on us to be optimistic for the future, right? Now, our parents, our grandparents, they perhaps didn't have the same tools and resources that we do to really further the conversation, to have a courageous conversation, to be equipped to do so. But the cool part is that we have the playbook. It's up to us to make the sacrifice, to dig deep, to make sure that we tackle those plays as flawlessly as we possibly can. The question is, do we want to do it? Do we? Yes. So say word. Word. Oh, y'all with me. All right. Who saw this article? It was, there we go. Let's try it again. Who saw this article? It was published back in May. Anyone saw it, read it? What did you think about it? Wasn't it? Tell me what made it awesome.
So we've got all this industry in Houston. I've been learning about that from the Greater Houston Partnership. And it's just brought so much of the world to Houston.
59 million immigrants to America. Imagine what comes to the energy corridor and the NASA.
Yeah, we have pretty good restaurants too.
Restaurant week is upon us. What else? Who else read the article? What else did you get from this? I saw a couple other hands. Yes, sir.
So, I guess being an engineer, my first question was, how do they define? You start digging into it. How do you define most diverse? Because, having traveled around a lot, if all of the diversity is pocketed, is it still diverse? Because that's one of the things, I have a hard time seeing people who are different from me. I mean, this room's a great, representation of people different from me, but totally. Most of my daily life, I don't necessarily. And so it to me, it asks the question, if I walk down the streets of New York City or some of the other large cities, I see what seems to be a larger diverse mix on the street every day. And so it begged me to ask the question, what's so diverse about Houston? I have a hard time seeing it.
What's your name?
Alan.
You just segued me really nice into my next slide. Thank you. So for me, what came up was, let's just go off and say, okay, yeah, Houston is the most diverse place in America. Because one of the things that resonated with me is, why did it take for LA Times to write this article, and why didn't Houston Chronicle pick it up? Moreover, why didn't the Business Journal write this? What happened? There's a disconnect, right? There's a gap. There's a dire need of a paradigm shift. But what really got me going was, we're the most diverse place in America. Supposedly we surpassed New York in 2010. But is this translating? Is it reflected in our boardrooms? Is this reflected around the table? Are people leaning in, taking that position? Is our leadership a making up of everyone in this room? What do you think? No. You know how I know it's not here? It's because I walked in and I saw the leadership pictures. And that's cool. The cool part about it is that we got room to work on this, right? It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool. Say word. Word. All right. So with that being said, here's the executive summary, going back to your point, because I knew I was going to be in a room filled with engineers. My older sister happens to be a civil one, so I know how that brain works. Let me give you some data. So community over workplace. Can you guys see? I want to make sure. Okay. Community over workplace. And what I really want to point your attention to is this fact-worthy note. Now, I know it's a little small, so I blew it up for us, and I put it in red. What it basically says is that white men held approximately 75 to 80% of all leadership positions in Texas for Fortune 1000 companies, all right? Now, of that, the percentage of the seats held by white parties, men and women, remain above 90%. Now, that's for Dallas and Harris County. So Dallas Houston, the two largest cities in Texas, 90% of their leadership team are white men and women. But wait a minute. Houston's the most diverse place in America. Why is that? Why is that? I'll tell you what it is. Everybody down for exercise? A real quick demonstration. Say word. Word. All right. So let's say I put on my glasses, and because someone gave me something, they gave me a lens to look through, but it wasn't my true lens. So let's say 7-year-old Khaliah was told that she couldn't have a crush on a girl because that wasn't right. Okay, so now I can't do that. Let me just pretend, all right? Yeah, I like dresses. Not really. Mom, I don't want those fluffy socks. Not really. Okay, so now I got my lens on. Next one, Khaliah, KG, you're a teenager out of Port Arthur, Texas. It's a private town. There's no way you're going to get a scholarship to go play basketball at a D1 school. Can I borrow your glasses? Sure. Thanks. Now I got another lens on. Whoa. You might have to hold my hand. All right. So now I've gone through all that. I'm in college. I graduated from college, and I'm getting into corporate America. Hey, you guys look really funny right now. I'm in corporate America, and I'm climbing the corporate ladder, but I'm told you don't look the part to be a VP by 30. Okay, I need some more glasses. Okay, can I borrow yours? All right. Y'all get the drift. I'm gonna just look like this. All right, y'all get the drift, right? So what are some of those things that someone told you? What are some of those lenses that you're looking through perhaps, or you don't have those lenses anymore, around age, socioeconomics, disability, or gender? What are some of those things around the diversity wheel that you're carrying these lenses where you can't even see straight? Throw them out for me.
Girls can't do science.
Man, please. Girls can do that science. I need another pair of glasses, though. So I got, okay. All right. Not gonna be able to see it. No, I'm putting them up here. No. All right. Give me something else. Give me something else. What else did someone say to you, or you perhaps might have said to somebody, and now looking back, you're like, man, that was a bit biased. I didn't mean it. It wasn't intentional.
Gay men can adopt children.
Ooh, I need some more glasses. Now, if I fall, don't worry, I have insurance.
If I take mine off, I can't see.
You can't see now. All right. What else? Give me one more.
You're a big fish in a little pond.
Ooh, how many of us heard that one before? I need some more glasses. Now, if I fall, who's gonna catch me? You gonna catch me? I can't see you, but can you catch me? You try. All right. How ridiculous do I look? I look a little cray-cray, right? But the reality of it is that I have no clarity right now because I can't see. Because I'm looking through other people's discriminations, their biases, what they told me. I really, truly can't see any of y'all. I just see images. Hi. But imagine once we start to remove these layers, right? Whose? We start to remove these. Whose? Thank you, sir. I still can't see. Oh, whose? Okay. You smart. No, these are yours. All right. So now we've removed those extra layers, those lenses that didn't belong to us, because what happened was now we're starting to identify with people the way they perceive us. And the thing is, we start to shut off that very same thing that makes us unique, that creates a diverse environment in America. That's what makes America great, right? Do we agree? It's that diversity. Word. True 80s, baby. True 80s, baby. But that's what makes us unique. So why on earth would we want to borrow someone else's lens and wear them around all the time? So we got to remove that. So when I ask the question, how did this happen? That's how it happened. We didn't lean in. We still have to beg people to come sit at the table. We're not taking what's ours. We're not showing and sharing that culture of awareness that comes within us from our own personal experiences. I could look around this room and say there's going to be some great thought. There are great thought leaders in here because it's diverse. There's people who didn't come from where other people came from. There's people who don't look like other people. And when that happens, that's where the secret sauce comes. You can know exactly what's going to happen. So we already kind of talked about the why, but let's take that conversation a little further. From a demographic standpoint, 1933, Texas had 90% white, 10% black. Okay, that makes sense. Today it's 35% minority and half are women. Where my girl power? Woo woo! Check this one out. 2042, no one group will be majority. Now, the publisher, the writer of this article, they interviewed a demographics expert, and that expert said that no longer will there be a majority group. Okay, we get that. So then you want to think about, well, what's going to happen to whites? What's going to happen to that class? What's going to be with that group? And he went on to say that whites will need to learn, and I thought that was an interesting choice for words, learn how to live as a minority. Now, what's interesting for me is that if we are truly diverse, America, the folks who are minorities should be able to teach our brothers and our sisters who are white how to learn how to live like we've been living for our entire life. That should come natural, right? But it goes back to your point. You don't walk down the street and see the diversity. But why? After everything we just talked about, why do you still don't see the diversity? And I'm posing this question to you guys. Separation? Community. Economics. It's so much stuff that goes to play. But you know how we can start to make that happen here in the workplace? It's hitting it where it matters. It's performance productivity. So how many managers do I have in the room? How many of you have millennials on your team? It's funny because when I say millennials, you're like, I saw a little bit of an eye roll somewhere. But the cool thing about it, the millennials in the next 5 years, they're going to be the leaders in our companies. And our millennials have already told us that they want to work for corporations where there's people of color at the top, where there's women at the top. They want a diverse and inclusive makeup. So that's the reason why. One of the other things that we know is from a performance productivity standpoint, I know that when I remove those lenses and I truly was able to be led to freedom, I was able to bring my whole self to work. Because what happened before when I was wearing all those glasses and I was probably really looking crazy on the outside, literally, 100% of me would be riding in the car, bumping my 80s music, right? But the moment I got to work and I got out the car, 50% of me showed up. Because I changed my pronouns from she to they because it was a guy, but it really wasn't. So when I got into work, 50% of me is walking around. So I'm giving 50% to this report. I'm giving 50% to my engineer buddy. I'm giving 50% to the lady in the pretty sweater here. I'm giving 50% to you. Do you want me at 50%? No, I need 100. You want 100, right? Mm-hmm. And I want you to be at 100 as well. So until we're able to create this safe environment where people feel included, because the old motto is diversity, the new motto is inclusion. And what I mean by that is that diversity is here. We have diversity in this room, but how inclusive are we being? Not just in NASA, but in our community. There's a lack of inclusion. That's why you can't walk down the street and see the makeup that's around this table in your neighborhood, in your grocery stores, in your worship centers. Tangible results. Say word. Word. Making sure y'all still with me. All right. Tangible thoughts. Tangible results. Diverse thoughts. Everybody remember what happened to AIG 2008? What happened? What happened, friend? It was bad. It was financial crisis. And I remember because I was in banking during that time. It's pretty bad. So bad to where AIG took a $85 billion, with a B, $85 billion bailout in exchange for 80% equity. What deal? Does that even sound like a good deal? To me, it doesn't. Maybe it did for them at the time. But if we go back and read now some of the thoughts of the CEOs who made that deal, they said the reason why that deal happened is because they did not have diverse leaders in the room. They had everyone who looked the same making the same having the same viewpoint on why they should make that deal. They all came from the same place. They all went to the same school. They all hung out the same place. There was no diversity. So when you think of it from that standpoint, lack of diversity and inclusion leads to bad decisions. Right? Say word. Word. All right. Retention. So remember we talked about these millennials, and y'all were like, rolling their eyes, like whatever with these millennials. But they want to be retained, but they're leaving because there's no diversity and inclusion. So imagine what will happen to your bottom line when you are engaging and inclusive with your millennials, because they're going to be your thought leaders in 5 years. Word? Word. Marketing, socially acceptable. What do I mean by that? What commercials do you think about when you think, okay, it's 2017, right? Even 2013, commercials were coming out and they were very diverse. Those same commercials wouldn't have came out in 1970, 1980, even 2000. What commercials come to mind for you? To Cheerios, right? It caused so much grief online. That was 2013. It was still progressive back then. But Cheerios, wasn't it cute? The dad woke up, he had his heart healthy, all his Cheerios for his cute little girl, and people went crazy. What else? What other commercials come up? Campbell's soup. Yeah. I personally love the Wells Fargo commercial with the two lesbians who were adopting the little girl. You guys remember that one? And they were learning sign language to get ready for the girl they were going to adopt. Billy Graham basically wrote us a letter, Wells Fargo, not me, and said, hey, you got to take this down. I'm pulling my accounts. He no longer banks with Wells Fargo. So when I talk about marketing, if this is what we're seeing on TV, if this is what we're hearing on the radio, this is what it should reflect in our communities and our workplace. So you guys are probably thinking, okay, well, how are we going to do this? I thought you never asked. Say word. Word. Strategy. Everything's got to have a strategy. So for our workplace, influence leadership at the top. This means, hey, Mr. Robert Lightfoot Jr., I need you to assemble a meeting with your peers. We need to talk about this. We need to have someone, when I walk into the NASA building, the first thing I want to recognize is someone that looks like me that's on the wall. Hey, Wells Fargo, I need someone that's going to look like me and I can relate to whenever I'm looking at the hierarchy for the whole footprint. Now, the way we do this is leveraging business cases. I love Apple. Anyone been following Apple, keeping up with what's going on with them?
My daughter.
What did she tell you?
Come
on, man, look at you. Your daughter is on it. We need to get her an internship somewhere. I might need her. Apple, so I want to say a couple of years ago, don't hold me to it, give or take, they hired their first diversity chief officer a couple of years ago. Now, how long have we been at this diversity and inclusion game? This is tech. This is Apple. Hey, what's going on, guys? But they finally got with it. That's fine. As long as you made it to the party, that's cool. You might be a little late. The punch is probably watered down, but you made it to the party. They made it to the party, but then they recently hired Denise Smith, who is their actual chief diversity officer. And in the interview, she was asked, what makes Apple pop? What makes this thing go? Why are you now shifting your campaigns to include more people of minorities, people of color in your pictures? Not only that, they're credited moving their numbers. They've moved the needle. They've hired 2,200 people just last year, African-American people. And she credits that. The reason why this can go is because she reports directly to the CEO, Tim Cook. So if it's a part of his MBOs, if it's a part of his goal, he's got to have something to do with it. He's got to have passion around it because it's now attached to what's going to be important to him. So when we say that, leverage the business case, we could use Apple. There are so many other places and companies that we could use. We could Google the top diversity CEOs, and we could use that as a leverage. But whatever we have to do, we have to show up, which we all did today, right? And be active. That's one thing to show up, but it's another thing to be active, to share your thoughts around the table. What do you guys think is going on? Challenge the thoughts. Say, well, hey, where I'm from, this is what this looks like. You ever heard the sentence or keeping it real? Sometimes it can go wrong and sometimes it don't.
It's a tagline for one of the events we have.
Is it?
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real.
Yes.
I love that. Invite me. I want to come. And educate. The education piece is probably the most powerful one that's in that role, the education of it. Because without the education, how do we ever know? All right? Community, be an advocate. Being an advocate means that you are in your zone, as my auntie O would say. She's my Aunt O. You might know her as Oprah Winfrey. Or Shonda Rhimes, for the Scandal fans in the house, she refers to it as flow. I refer to it as juju. Like, how are you going to be in your flow and making sure you're in your zone so that you can be an advocate? And it doesn't have to be something grand or massive that you're doing. It's just simply sharing your story with somebody. And I've got a little challenge up. If you guys are up for it, I got a little challenge at the end, but only if you're up for it. Let me get your commitment now. Word? All right, I don't believe that. I play sports. So everybody reach in, put your hand in. Come on, put your hand in. Everybody hand in? All right, so we're going to say word on 3. 1, 2, 3. Word. Okay, you guys are in. All right. So I mentioned this already. Diversity is the old model. Inclusion is the new model. Mentorship. I heard someone say science, math back here. That's something that NASA can do, right? How are we, and you guys probably already doing this, but what else can we do in our own communities to make sure that we're bringing math and we're bringing science to our communities? Because that's a lack that if you look at any ISD report, that's where they're lacking in science and math. Now, when I talk about hope, I immediately think about Daryl Montgomery because he's the first African-American president at Wells Fargo Bank ever. And that just happened 2 years ago. And you all know how long Wells Fargo been around, right? That stagecoach has been going for hundreds of years at this point. But he, despite his impressive resume, he's a 34-year vet. He's the executive vice president. He's got it going on. He serves on multiple boards. But for me, what makes his resume impressive is that he was the first. But what's disheartening is that it's not published. No one's proud to promote that he's the first African-American because they're a bit ashamed that he is the first Black American in 2015. But we got to celebrate our wins. It doesn't matter when or how, we got to celebrate that. And for me, as I'm climbing the corporate ladder, right? I'm climbing the rungs, I'm going up to the next one. I have awesome mentors who are pouring into me and sponsors who are talking about me when I'm not in the room to get me primed and groomed for my next position. But all in all, something was missing. Why do you think that is? I didn't have anyone that looked like me. I didn't think it would be possible because there was no one in the history of the 165 years that a Black man or a Black woman or a person of color sat at that seat. So this was huge. This is still huge. I still talk about it to today. When I see him, I'm still grabbing 5 minutes of his time just to get some of his excellence. So my question is, what hope are you instilling in NASA in your future? What hope are you doing? What are you thinking about? Who are you impacting? Are you going to, on Saturday, are you going to a mega church and volunteering and bringing out, what's the name of that trailer, the cool trailer?
The DTE trailer.
The DTE trailer. Now, what can we do differently just to instill hope in these little girls and little boys' lives who are eventually going to be taking our seats at the table? All right, so now, you remember we said word. We just came in. I don't want nobody going back on their word. And we got time? Yes. So the do something challenge. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It could be big or small, but we got to do something. So I'm going to share with you my do something. I'm going to give you a chance to think about what your do something challenge is, and then we're going to talk about it. Word? Word. All right. Kai, you hit it for me? I'm going to sit so everybody can see. And while we tee up, just for the imagery of this picture, it doesn't matter which phone you grew up using. You still can do something, all right? Anybody remember that rotary one? I do. Yeah. My grandma had a green one. It's like the green you wouldn't want to have on the phone.
My name is Ali Sajjad. I'm a Pakistani American that's been living in the United States for the last 26 years, and I'm Muslim.
A couple times where a higher ranking soldier in a position of authority would be making the rounds through the barracks and would make little sexual comments about the attire that I was wearing or what it was outlining or showing.
It makes me feel distance when people that don't know me find out of my mental illness. After they find out, they treat you like with kid gloves.
We've had decades of white women winning these awards who look like me, blonde or brunette. But one of my closest friends, this is the first time she ever got to see someone that looked like her actually be acknowledged for her work.
Was another woman who looked like me, who denied me of a service just because I didn't look the way she thought I should look, to request that type of service on the menu.
His normal conversation for me was, he liked to look at my lipstick, could he taste it?
Man, you're pretty tall. Are you related to bin Laden?
And I want people to know who I am and not just the diagnosis.
For one, I didn't think I would be taken seriously or believed because I'm a woman.
I was absolutely disappointed. I was furious. I was angry.
Yes, all lives matter, but right now we're talking about Black lives.
My name is Khaliah Guillory, and I am you.
My name is Catherine, and I am you.
My name is Eddie, and I am you.
My name is Dwayne Williams, and I am you.
My name is Angela, and I am you.
So what you think about what you can do? And remember, there's no scale. There's no such a thing as a big or small. So I challenge you to take the next 5 minutes, grab a sheet of paper if you didn't come in with anything to write on, grab your phone, and just brainstorm on what your do something challenge will be. To do something different, and I've got another challenge for you. So just think about it. All right, let's wrap it up. So first, let's talk about your reaction to the documentary. What was your reaction to it?
It was strong.
How so?
It's just like, you think about it, sometimes you don't think about that in that retrospect. Like, people are really get judged. You always hear about it, but then when you hear live accounts, you really just think like, I can't imagine this happening to me. Something like that. You try to put yourself in those perspectives, because sometimes you can't. But you sit there, just like how you explained it, just like, if I was sitting there, how would I feel?
Yeah.
Or someone in the military. And she might be accomplished as possible, but she'd get looked over just because she's a female.
Oh, you summed it up beautifully. I need you to come with me on a road show, because you could be like the brand ambassador or something. That was awesome. I don't know if you guys heard him, but basically what he was saying is it forced you to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that really just came about as a round table. Everybody in that video are a good friend of mine. And it came up just throughout life. There are different stories. And I was like, you know what, we need to put this on video and do some change or something. Who knows what's gonna happen, but we want to do something. What else? What other reactions did you get? Oh, I'm coming back.
I'm sorry. I think that when you talk diversity, it's sometimes they put it in a box where it's just a black and white issue. Mm-hmm. But it's so much more than that. I mean, diversity is, it's supposed to transcend color, gender, like you said, disabilities, mental, physical, other ways.
Totally. And one of the things that I feel like is almost like the biggest secret, especially in the Black community, is mental illness. We don't talk about that enough. And I'm proud to say that the guy that represents the mental illness segment is my brother-in-law. So imagine the courage that it took for him to share his story. That's what I'm talking about, a courageous conversation. That's what it looks like. The lady with the military sexual trauma, she had been diagnosed for the past 12 years with PTSD. And it actually was military sexual trauma. They just came up with that title. That was her first time telling her story ever. Because she knows she needs to evoke change and shift people's thoughts so that they can actually understand where she's coming from. What else? What else came up? Oh, here we go.
Everyone has a story. I think if you can connect on that level, my story is going to be different from your story.
Totally.
Somebody else's story, but everyone has a story.
Yeah.
If you can connect with other people's stories, I think it's a great way to amplify that voice.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, when we remove all these manufactured labels, we're all the same. We all bleed the same color, right? That's how I check. It's just a matter of connecting and respecting our stories. And you know, most of us grew up with some type of bias because we grew up in a household with family and with parents, but it's a matter of really connecting so that we can get where the other person is coming from. Well said. I saw a hand over here.
I think the woman talked about, yes, all lives matter, but right now we're talking about Black Lives Matter. I think just even to pull on what she said, a lot of people feel like diversity means that you're excluding people as opposed to including people. And even though you might be focusing on one group, whether it's race, gender, whatever, that doesn't negate the rest. It just means that maybe we need to put more focus into this area.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it opened, you know, I had a conversation with the exec at Shell about the documentary, and he said, well, you know, what about me? Now I'm feeling like a white guy. And he said, well, now I'm feeling like, you know, no one's like caring about me. And I said, that's not what we're talking about. We want to care about you, but because you're representing the 90% of executives in Houston, we need to include you in this conversation so you're not excluded and no one's excluded. See how that shift a little bit? Because I think it's just a matter of educating people to see where you're coming from, right? What else?
I wanted to say when people say they don't see color, because there's a whole different spectrum of people that are giving their different testimonies. So if they can still say that, then how can people say that they may not see color because everybody had a different experience?
Yep, absolutely. Well said. I'm coming to give you a high five. What else? Thank you for sharing that. Well, let's share some of your do something. What did you guys come up with? I can't wait to hear this. Share with me what you wrote down. It's all family, it's all love, right? All right, my man in the back.
So I think my do something challenge is, I'm trying to do this now, trying to get better. Inspire hope for change. And by change, I mean to break barriers. As vague as it sounds, it applies to me in multiple facets, such as I go talk to inspire people who have felt a related situation that I went through. Like I go to the hospital, and just in my personal experience, I broke my femur in 2 places, 2010, and they told me I was never supposed to walk, but now I'm running marathons. So when I go talk to kids in the hospital, and you know, they're just so down, I would just say nothing is impossible, of course. The doctor might say this, but through perseveration and prayers, anything is possible to keep pushing. And I also go talk to people who are in underdeveloped neighborhoods, and you talk to the kids, and you always ask them, what do you want to be? What do you want to be in life? And they always say a doctor and stuff like that, but it was like, it's not practical growing up from where I'm from. And I was like, that's no excuse. There are multiple facets, there's multiple resources that you could do. And I also think of myself when I grew up, I'm an immigrant myself. I'm an immigrant myself that came from Nigeria here when I was 12 years old. And be honest with you, when you came in, it was just like, what are obstacles that people told you that would never be now? One of the obstacles for me coming up, being an immigrant from Nigeria, you would never work for NASA. I was like, they would never hire you from NASA and stuff like that. And I'm a testament to that. So I always try to promote to talk to people who are not there. Like I do the, build a house. Habitat for Humanity.
Look at your community. They had your back. That community of unity is deep here at NASA.
Yeah, and just for people just to know, Habitat for Humanity not only builds houses, you also go through different neighborhoods, underdeveloped neighborhoods, and you help to clean up and you talk to the kids there. And they always have multiple questions for you and ask you what you're doing. And it's like, how did you come to this in life? How do you come to this in life? And when you talk to elementary medical kids, they always have the same story. It's like, wow, you work for NASA? Can I work for NASA too? And yes, you can. I was like, it's definitely possible. There are different programs to raise people up. So that's my do something challenge. I try to find different innovative ways to kind of break the barrier and let people know like nothing is impossible. And that can be from health all the way to education.
I love it, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Who else wants to share? Come on, don't be shy. There we go. She's like, hey, hey.
Just kind of, I mean, this is good. You know, sometimes it's good to have reminders of things. I like the do something challenge. The do is an action. Unfortunately, I feel like, I mean, I guess depending on what you're listening to or what you're feeding yourself, there's a lot of negativity out there. And, you know, and it hits close to home. I to your point about the lack of diversity, you know, I live close to here because it's close to work, but it's not diverse. So my son has become to come home with, you know, being the only black boy in his classes, with very strange conversations that I didn't expect to start discussing. I mean, it started in kindergarten. You can't like this girl because you're grandma, you know, and on this end, sometimes it's like I'm just reacting to everything versus being accountable and saying, okay, well, I can ignore that, but I can listen to the statistics and know that that's today, but every day I need to show up at 100% and be an example to those that are coming behind me, because those that are coming behind me look more like me and my son, or sons. And so I think I like the do, just, you know, get the information, but you got to do something. You can't just be listening to everything and you know, letting things go over your head.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. What else? Who else wants to do something? All right, 2 hands at the same time. Who's going first? Right here.
So I noticed over the many years, basically being in the same group, you know, different positions and stuff like that. And over the years, we've had interns, total lack of diversity. So I've decided that I will work with my manager in terms of the fact, you know, when does he start the recruiting process and how can I be involved and, you know, help in that aspect to try to get some diversity with, you know, in the interns that come into work.
I love it. There's probably some case studies too. And if you need me to get you some case studies to leverage that, let me know.
Okay.
I saw a hand over here.
It's kind of touching on what he said about kind of walking around the neighborhood and the community. So I lived in an apartment complex for 5 years, and one day I got a dog, and so I had to walk her around the complex. And one of my neighbors asked, "Oh, well, did you just move in?" And I was like, "No, I've lived here for 5 years." But I never saw my neighbors because I would drive in, park at the end of my apartment, and go up the stairs to my apartment.
Right.
Well, I moved into a house, same thing. I have to walk the dog around the neighborhood. I've gotten to know more of my neighbors from walking my dog around the neighborhood. So it's become a conversation starter.
Yeah.
And then once you have that common thing you can talk about, then you transition into other conversations. So sometimes it's starting at that smaller level. And I live in a fairly actually diverse neighborhood too. And even such, because I walk all over, not just in my neighborhood, I walk outside my neighborhood. So I'll see police officers driving down. Now, these people may not know my name. I'm the lady that walks the 2 dogs. But they'll wave to me, but they know who I am and that I belong in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think there's something missing where we don't really know who we live around.
We don't.
Because our days are busy. You come home from work, you drive up, park in your garage, in your driveway, and you go in the house. And you don't really know who your adult neighbors are. I probably know a lot of the kids too, because I have a porch, and my friends' kids come to my house, so they like coming. So I've met people through their children as well as through, like I said, walking my dog.
I love it, because you know that dog did so much for you. So the more of the story is get yourself a dog. Get a dog and let's do something. Start off with the little pup, right?
Conversation starter is what I call it.
Yeah.
It allows you to connect with somebody in a way you might not have thought you had something in common with.
And when I was there coming, and a couple things that came to mind just from the 2 of you guys is maybe that do something is a plan in a community, a neighborhood, homeowners association, like get out like a street jam or something, you know, something where people could get out their house on a Saturday night and jointly cook and bring potluck and do whatever.
But you can do the same, I guess, at your office.
You sure can. It works for the workplace and the community. Same thing with play dates, you know, is are we making sure these play dates are diverse, or there's the same kids that look like our kids that we're playing with? Yes, ma'am.
What was just mentioned, you
it's probably to say some of what you just said. A lot of folks that are in this room, some of whom I know, some of whom I don't know, we're very grateful to Orlando and Kai for putting on this activity.
Let's give it up for them. Why not?
And I want you to know that they put on many activities. They spend their weekends, at the Black Expo and, various events, going to schools and so forth. So one of the ways to get to know the people right here at JSC, some of whom might become a mentor or a sponsor, is to get involved with the ERG. After this, if you don't know Orlando and Kai, and you're willing to help put on an event like this, with an event like this, if you have more volunteers, you probably would have lunch in this room. Or they would all bring their goodies. We're just depending on these two guys, Kristen, a few folks that help. I'm going to help as executive sponsor, and also Rob Ambrose. But it needs to be more. And I will tell you, since I've been here since 1981, in the past, there was a large group of people who didn't mind being associated with the organization, the AAERG. Because one of my do-somethings was to try to reach out more to millennials, because I think they do need to know the history. I've gone through these things with my own children, so if somebody's having those issues, I can respond to that. So I think that some of the folks that have been here for a while, reaching out to them, they'll be more than happy to talk to you. As well as just by getting involved. I personally was from 10 to 4 at the Black Expo myself with a big NASA exhibit. We had Mars and all that. The folks that came were just so excited. But, we had to find the same, volunteers. So volunteering and helping, I hope to do something will be to do more here and in the community by getting with Kai in Orlando and, sign a sheet to let them know you'll help.
Thank you, Donna.
How much they owe you? You might put a little wager on that. That was a good plug. All right, we're gonna take 2 more and then we'll wrap up.
Well, I just have a quick question, just speaking on that. I know we're talking about diversity and stuff. My question has always been, okay, so if we're voting diversity and we want to be all inclusive, why do we have these separate little groups? Like AERG, I'm sure there's a Hispanic AERG and there's a Asian AERG. So does that, I know we have them to bring awareness and the communists and whatever, but if you're truly talking about diversity, when we have these little specific groups that put on things like this and all that show up is 90% of us, how is that helping with the diversity? You know what I'm saying?
You want to take that one? Because I have my thoughts on the Wells Fargo philosophy, but
I would say that when the ERGs were put together, it was a starting point for start the conversation. And sometimes it's easier to start the conversation with people in like lanes. And you probably have noticed over the last several years, we went from those single lanes. Most of the ERGs support each other when we have bigger events. And so it has grown from that standpoint, but I think that whole thought process.
Well, I've been here a long time and we've always had these different groups. They just were called, they weren't called ERG, they were called something else, or they were called something else. But they've always been that. So my thing is, if the inclusion is, and yes, you have, other people that come to your events, but when you're doing diversity, if we keep singling out, and of course, I know we have to, you have to be within your group to discuss things that we want to do better, blah, blah, blah. But it just, I don't know.
I have to just jump in. But to me, and that was one of my ad sheets actually, is that it's on us. If we want to see different people at these events, then it's on us to invite them to come. So,
and the other thing is, the other question I had is, I heard this second-handedly, so I understand there's a distribution list, and how does the distribution list come about? How did you get the word out to say?
So we share all events with all ERG leadership teams. It's mentioned in the I&I meetings at senior staff. If you want to be added to any other distributions, you can send an email directly to, let's just say if it's the AAERG, you can send one directly to our inbox, and we will personally add you to the email and make sure you get the information that you need. But to echo on what both Keith and Donna said, our goal is not to be exclusive. We do have issues that face us within our own communities, and we definitely want to be a sounding board, and we want to put on different trainings, and we want to do educational pieces to help us knock down that barrier. But at the end of the day, we don't exclude no one from any event that we have. We make sure that we try to collaborate with others, because we realize that others are having some of the same issues that we are having. So even though the issue right now might be key to us, it's not that we're ignoring no one else, but we want to make sure that we're here to answer the call. We want to make sure that we're here to do things like this that can create a diverse workforce or a diverse room, so those ideas and things like you just said can be brought to the table. But if we're not bringing the people of different minds, dissenting opinions in the room, then all we hear are our problems. So it's our challenge to reach out, but it's even more of a challenge of the workforce to bring ideas in and to bring your thoughts in, so those can be addressed and elevated up higher if they need to.
So with that being said, I got the perfect segue into this slide. And it's exactly what you were talking about, is how do we bring people, it's on us to invite other people to be around this table. And that's what the second part of this challenge is, okay? On this link here, you could jot it down, or I can get Orlando to send it out, but you have to put it into your browser exactly the way you see it. So it's case sensitive. So http://bit.ly/capital KOGD lowercase deposits. And it's your normal thing. So who shops online? Everybody, right? According to Amazon, 4 out of 10 people shop online. So if you're shopping online, you're familiar with, if you want to get a coupon code, they're going to send you a link, and you're going to enter your email address, and then you're going to wait a second, and you're going to have to say, hey, I'm a human, I'm not a robot. And then next time you refresh, you'll have something in your inbox. This works exactly the same way. So when you enter in this link, you're going to get an email that says, hey, you want to be dope and hang out with some diversity divided people? And you're going to say yes. And then you're going to ask you, am I a human? You're going to say yes. And then next, you're going to get a downloadable document that gives you steps to do exactly what you just said. The challenge is to, step one, invite someone out to lunch or a play date or bowling or something that does not look like you. Someone that you might have crossed in the hall, someone that you sit next to church and they don't look like you and you really haven't had a conversation with them. Maybe you want to take the dog to the park and hang out with somebody else. But the idea is to welcome someone else in your life that doesn't look like you or come from where you come from. The second step is to take a selfie with that group of people or with yourself. And then the third step is to post it and ask them 3 interesting facts about themselves. One needs to be something about diversity so that you can learn who that person is. And don't feel like you got to write out all that down. That's what the link is for. You'll get the actual document. And if you have any questions, my email address is attached to it. But remember, y'all say y'all were in. Let me remind everybody. Let me keep you honest. They said they were in, right, Kai? They said word. They said word. Y'all remember y'all said word, right? Okay, so word? Word. All right, lean in and make sure we in it. Word on 3. 1, 2, 3. Word. All right, guys, if you need to follow me or anything you need from me, you can catch me at KOG Speaks. That's on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I also have a podcast show for small business entrepreneurs. I also contribute to the Huffington Post. I've got a really cool, interesting article on corporate diversity. So go and check that out. I'll be interested to see what you think about it. And with that, I am finishing about 1 minute and 20 seconds on time. So, Orlando.
Round of applause. I'm going to be short so you all can get out, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the Do Something and how you can get involved in what we're doing. When both Kai and I took leadership of the ERG this year, we made it a very conscious effort to, one, give back to our community. We wanted to go and reach the younger kids because we realized through some of the work that we were doing with the My Brother's Keeper program that if you don't catch a kid in that middle school to junior high time frame, you kind of lose them. And one of the things that we made an effort on is reaching out to those kids to assure them, and we're not just targeting African American kids, even though that we go into those communities a lot. Prime example this weekend, thanks Miss Yolanda for coming out, thanks Keith for coming out, but we were at Fallbrook Church where we took the DTE trailer, and the amount of kids that we reached this weekend was awesome. The things that you're doing with Greg Elementary, it's different things like that, Keith, the things that you're doing with the church that we're working with. It's things like that that can help push the envelope forward. Yes, we are here. Yes, we want to make a difference. So we have to do something about it. And if you have ideas, please send them to our email address. Or if you want to send them to us personally, fine, Orlando Horton, Kai Harris, or you can send it to the JSC-AAERG mailbox. And we'll be glad to take on anything that you all may have. And if we have the manpower to do something and it's a great idea, we'll definitely look into it. So that's that. But now for you, Miss Khaliah.
Oh, oh, thanks, bro. I appreciate
We
it.
seen Miss Khaliah speak at a few events. We went to HCC, first time we got to hear her talk, and both Kai and I, we were sitting back like, it'd be nice to bring her to JSC. And a few weeks later, we went to the DNI conference, which was a few days long, and it was designed to where you go and hear different talks on diversity and inclusion in multiple rooms. I saw this young lady walking around to several different rooms and giving several different presentations. So we reached out to her to bring her here to JSC because we felt that she had some things that can inspire us to let us know that we can always have the talk, but what are we going to do to push the envelope forward? So thank you for bringing all of those points home.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of JSC ERG, we want to present you with this photo.
Oh, nice.
So
JSC, are you with me? Oh, yeah.
So a small memento.
Thank you.
For you coming out.
I
Thank you very
appreciate it.
much. So I'm not going to hold you all any longer. Thank you for coming out. Have a great day.
And if you have time for a quick photo, I would love to capture this moment for us. If you got time.
Yeah.
All right.
Hit the light button.